Welcome back to Troubleshooting, everybody. Today it's time to do some upgrades on the camper. We've got the rooftop tents off. We're going to be making some changes on that. And we got the camper completely cleaned out. I'm working on a video weighing the camper completely empty, and then we're going to load it down. And so I'm going to get all the weights on the camper. But one of the big things I mentioned recently we needed to swap out was our battery. So I'm going to change out the battery today. That's tucked up underneath. And I'm going to start looking at some other stuff here on the rear end that I want to get built. But battery is going to be the first thing that needs to get changed out. So we've had a Renogy 200 amp hour gel battery for 4 to 5 years now. And it's been pretty good. It was really good early on, but it's slowly gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. And now it's just completely shot. So we have switched to the Renogy Pro 200 amp hour lithium battery. So this is going to be a much better battery. It's going to last longer. The Pro series has self-heating function. So lithium batteries, if they get too cold, they won't work. So essentially, they have a self-heating function where they keep themselves alive by using their own energy to keep themselves warm so that they can give you the energy that's in them. Kind of weird, but that's how it works. This also has some sort of flame-proof extinguishing function in the case. I think it's in the top. It talks about vertical burning. So I don't know what all that means exactly, other than to me that sounds good because risk of fire is somewhat of a concern. And obviously I don't want the camper catching on fire when the kids are in there, and batteries do crazy stuff when they do catch on fire. We have a smoke detector and all that, so we probably get out. But to help mitigate that, I just thought that was a cool feature. So this is the battery I went with. We're going to stick it under the back end here, hook it up, make sure my charge controller, which I've always liked Renogy products, not sponsored or anything. Paid full price for this thing other than they had a Black Friday sale going on, so I got a little bit off. But I just like their products. I don't know why. Maybe because their website's easy to navigate. It's easy to figure out what you need and what you want. I just like their stuff. So that's what we're going to put in, hook it up to our Renogy DC to DC charge controller and all that. And yeah, and then we're going to look at some more stuff once we get the back end tore apart here, because it's time to start building some other things. So as you probably already know, I've got a skid plate plate of steel here that holds my battery and my water tank tucked up under the back end here. So I just got to pull out 2 bolts, and that hinges down and I can pull those out. Before I do that, I'm going to take off this original bumper because I want to start coming up with a plan and even start building the swing out bumper for the back of the camper so we can put a spare tire and all that kind of stuff on the back here instead of having all that weight on the tongue, so we can offset our tongue weight a little bit more and balance the camper out. It's been my plan all along, just never have done it, but I want to get started on that and hopefully get that built in the very near future, if not in this video. I probably won't get all of it, but maybe get started. So I'm going to pull my air hoses out, my connections, my lights, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull this bumper off so I can start figuring out how this is all going to fit, what my frame looks like, how I'm going to make this work. I've been sitting here for a long time just staring at this thing, visualizing. That's how I work, figure out how to do stuff. I sit here and I look at it and I think for a very long time. I didn't film that part, fortunately for you, but we're going to pull this bumper off. I'm going to start figuring out how I'm going to make this work. Alright guys, here's what it looks like without the bumper on it. Looks like a mess, but you can see how the battery works here, and you can see the water tank up in there. So we'll swap that battery out here in a minute. But now I can see kind of what I have to work with here, and I can figure out how I want to build this bumper. So a couple things. I know a lot of people are going to ask, am I going to do a high clearance bumper? And the answer is no, not on the camper. I'm going to do a very basic, I'm going to leave the quarter panels as they are. I'm going to do a very basic straight bumper here. Very simple, single swing. And that's going to function very well for us. What I found in the last 5 years dragging this camper around is that the long tongue, because of how far back the axle is, that is always the stopping point. That will keep me from going places long before I drag the back end of the camper, even with the tow package and everything in here. So I decided a long time ago I wasn't going to worry about high clearance. I was going to stuck this under here. So if I went high clearance, which I probably will on the Suburban when I build it, I have to redo my tow package and raise it up to gain anything. And then I'd also chop right in here, wrap around, steel bumper all the way around, come all the way around. That's what I'll do on the Suburban. But on here, I want to have room for this stuff, keep it low. I very, very rarely drag the rear end anyway, so it's just not going to give me any advantage. So I'm going to keep it as it is right now. That keeps all this stuff here just as it is. I just need to build the bumper with a single swing. It'll swing out to this side. That way we can still walk around that side. And then our swing out will be right over here. And that'll give us access to everything and kind of work with the way our kitchen setup usually is. So the one other thing that I want to get into this bumper though, along with the battery, I want to stick a 12,000 pound winch right here somewhere. So that's what I'm also looking at, is how can I fit this winch in here. This one's kind of broken, but I may put it in anyway because it does function. It just doesn't have reverse for some reason. I may pull it apart and try to fix it, but regardless, I'm gonna figure out how it'll fit. But I'll probably have to weld a plate on to the tow package so I can set it right back in here as far back so I can run. I don't know, I gotta figure that out, how I'm gonna get a winch line out underneath the swing out, probably underneath the swing out, how the bumper is going to sit in there, how that's going to fit around. So I'm going to have to sit here and look at this and measure and just kind of figure out how to do this. All right, guys, y'all are gonna have to use your imagination with me for a minute to get what I'm envisioning here. So winch sits right here. We'll put the controller, it's removable. We'll stick it back in there or something. We'll stick it somewhere else. Fair lead right here. We have 2-inch square tubing. So I'll weld a bracket onto the tow package here. That's what the winch would mount to. Do 1/4-inch plate, weld that to the top of the tow package. That would bolt down right there. And we'll have 2-inch square tubing. That would also bolt through these holes right here. There's one on each side. That would bolt to the tow package, which is bolted back to the frame. 2-inch would come across here. Right about here, we'd have a vertical coming up. We'd have a plate going over to the frame right here, tying to these 2 holes. That would come out here, bolt to the frame, weld into the bumper. Right in here, this would kick up a little bit. We'd cut this here at some angles, kick this up slightly, just to kind of match our corners, give us a little more clearance here. Kick up slightly, and then that would tie in at the end, about yay tall or so, I don't know. And then we'd have another 2-inch running right back over, right on top of the fair lead probably. Just right across here, all the way across. Kicking back down, hitting this right over here. So it ties to the frame on both sides, 4 bolts there, 2 bolts here tying the tow package. So all that would be tied in really good. The winch would be bolted to the tow package, tucked back in there. We can have a little plate steel right in here for like air valves and stuff for our airbags, and our trailer harness would do that on one side or the other. Have a little bit of space for a little plate tucked in here on both sides. License plate we might put over on a hinge bracket over this or something, or we might put it up higher somewhere else. So that's the bumper. Once you get the bumper in, then across the top of that, all the way across, we have our swing out. Big old beefy hinge tied into this corner right here. And then we have our spare tire, 2 jerry cans, and a 20-pound propane bottle. So it's gonna be full. My concern is a single swing that big and making this corner stout enough where it's not sagging, and I'll have to get a hinge mechanism that's strong enough to hold that. It's gonna be a lot of weight on that thing. But I think I got a plan. I think it's gonna work. I don't have everything I need to do it though. So, and it's getting late, but I got a plan. So we'll be right back and we'll keep working on this project. Well guys, another morning, but it's time to get back to work on the bumper. So I've got some 2-inch, this is 3/16 wall square tubing. It's what I happen to have laying around. It's probably a little thicker than I need, but it may not be too thick considering how that swing out's got to mount. So I'm going to go 67 inches wide, cut a piece off. Then I'm going to cut one a little bit longer so I've got a little bit extra length to kick up the end. So cut a couple pieces and start seeing how this is going to go together. All right, I got a couple pieces cut and cleaned up here. I got some of my short spacers that are gonna go in here. So I'm gonna kind of mock this up here, see how it's looking, and start making sure this is gonna work. And I got lots of help, so what could go wrong? This piece. There we go. About there. That'll bolt down to that. And then this piece can go around about there. And then this piece can go right about there. And this piece approximately. And then we'll cut a notch and we'll kick this one up so it'll angle up slightly, but there'll still be a gap. And then we'll tie those together and we'll do the same down here. And then we'll fill this in with a thin plate and we'll have to have a couple slightly thicker pieces right here because that ought to go right in there for a fair lead. Is it gonna work?
Yes.
All right, guys, we've been mocking this up, marking, measuring, getting things centered up. I've got 2 1/4-inch steel brackets here. One's gonna weld right about there. One's gonna weld on right about here. That'll be our mounting location for the winch. These are gonna sit out about here and here, as I already showed you. I've got that marked up, so I'm gonna weld these onto the top piece because the top piece, I have the width for that. The bottom piece, I've got them somewhere right out in here. I've got to cut a notch and angle that up. So I can't really weld anything to this one yet because I need to modify it, but I can weld the top one together, make sure this is all looking good, make sure it marks. Just tack it, slowly work through the process, looking at things, making sure things are gonna work as we go, so hopefully we don't make any major mistakes. Okay, so I've tacked this top one in place. So I got these in place. I've got all this centered up, got marked where these need to go, which these line up with the brackets that'll go back to the frame back here. And I'm coming 1 inch off of this, and this is where I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna cut this through and kick this up. Not all the way up to here, I don't think, unless I change my mind. I'm gonna start and we'll see how it starts looking. So I'm gonna cut this, mock this up. So what I'm gonna do here, I've set the depth of my saw a little bit shallower, as you can see there. You can see that broken tooth too, but I got it set shallow so that it'll cut through. My goal is to cut through the top and both sides and leave the bottom. I'll cut right here, I'll cut down there, and I'll see how I'll make that gap, whatever I need to be. I'm gonna cut it once, bend it, see how it turns out, and then cut more and slowly get the bend in it that I want. But I think that'll work. I can just bend the bottom piece and then weld the other and clean all that up. We'll see if it works. All right, after some sawing and cutting and grinding and welding, we have our little kick going there and a matching one over here. Not a lot, just a little bit of an angle to kind of match the body and not be so square. So I'll weld another one of these pieces in here and cap the ends of all this and everything. We'll grind all that down smooth and everything. Fill this with a weld, grind that back down smooth, weld all this. So I'm gonna start full welding some stuff because it looks like it's coming together. All right, guys, we made some progress. We have the main piece of the bumper welded up. The next step is going to be capping these ends. I'm going to tie these together down here and cap them. Want these corners nice and stout because that's where, if we hit something, that's a good likelihood that's where it's going to be. And that's where our swing out's going to tie in on both ends. One side will have a hinge, the other side will have a latch. So I need them nice and stout. So we're going to do this with some cardboard. We're going to make ourselves a little template and then trace that onto a piece of square tubing and notch the tubing to go on the outside and the inside and tie everything together real nice and stout. I'm not going to claim it as good work, but I think this is going to work pretty good. You can see I left the outer wall here. I'll just weld this around and then we'll grind all that smooth. Weld it here, weld it here. And this corner will be tied together quite well and the ends will be capped all in one fell swoop. Well, guys, I've got the ends on, and while I wouldn't say it necessarily looks good, I would say it doesn't necessarily look bad either, especially considering a Yahoo made it. So I think it's going to work. I think it's going to hold up decently well. Got my holes drilled here, so this is where it will bolt into the toe package. And then I made the top side big enough so that my socket would fit down in there so I can tighten it up, because I didn't want to thread this because it's not thick enough for that, and I didn't want to run our bolt all the way up through the top of it because I can't do that because I'm going to have some other, my fair lead will be sitting there. So next step is getting the brackets that'll go from these braces back to the frame, I think. Okay, here's how it's looking on the camper. My next step, I got this made. This is going to be my bracket that'll weld onto the bumper and then bolt into the existing bolt holes through the frame where the old bumper bolted. So we'll be bolted on both sides and bolted down at the bottom. And then I gotta figure out how I'm gonna mount the fair lead, if I'm gonna close this hole completely in or if I'm gonna leave it, do just a mount for the fair lead and leave it open. Haven't decided yet. I'm thinking I'll close this whole thing in with a plate on the back. And then I'm gonna put lights in down here somewhere. So I may have to I'll probably put a thinner plate in there and do some flush mount lights so I can have reverse lights, brake lights. These will end up partially covered by our stuff potentially, or at least the view partially blocked. So I'll make sure I've got redundant lights down here low below the swing out. Okay, the brackets for the frame are on. I'll go over there, hold these up, mark where my holes need to go so I can drill the holes for the bolts. And then I gotta figure out what kind of plate I'm doing on here and how I'm getting the fair lead onto this. All right, I went ahead and made up my mind on what I was doing. I just added a plate here in the middle for right now and cut out these holes and everything. So our fair lead can go right there and bolt into it, and our winch line can come out. That'll give me a nice, that needs to be pretty stout, so that's a 3/16 plate right there, welded onto the back there. So that should be pretty stout, so we can, it's not going to be handling the weight of the winch. The winch will be bolted to the receiver, but there's still going to be side forces and up and down forces on this plate, so it needs to be fairly stout, especially if we're pulling off at an angle trying to drag the back of the camper over. So that's where we're at there. I'm going to go mark my holes, drill them so we can bolt it to the frame. Then I've got to get some bolts. I don't have any bolts that'll fit this right now, but we're real close to having, this is basically done. A couple holes to drill and some paint, and this is done, other than the swing out portion I got to build later. So we'll probably hop over here pretty quick to getting the winch brackets welded on and pulling the battery and everything out so we can get a new battery in it. Okay, got all the bumper pulled off, got all my stuff marked, so I need to pull the tow package off to make it easier to weld my brackets on for the winch. I also need to get this battery out, and I'm going to pull this whole battery tray and water tray, skid plate and everything, pull it out. It's all rusty because I never did finish it, never painted it, so I'm going to pull it out, knock all the surface rust off. I need to drill some drain holes in it because water gets up in here and sits in it and doesn't drain. It drains eventually, but it's very slow. I need to drill some nice big holes in it to get water and mud to drain out of it. And then I got to get the new battery fastened to it. So I got quite a bit of work to do just on these two items. So I'm going to rip all this out and then start modifying it. Well guys, I'm getting really close to putting everything back together. I've got the hitch ready with the winch mounting plate. I got the bumper here and it's all painted. And I also have our skid sanded down as best I can and also painted. So I'm almost ready to put everything back together. And I got the new battery, got the old battery out. So I want to get it all put back together, but I really want to get a functional winch in there. So what's happening on this one used to be on the tow truck and I ended up switching it out because I didn't have time to work on it. But what happens, I got it hooked up to Suburban here temporarily. Going in, works normally. Free spool is perfectly fine, but when I go out, you can hear it clicking. Things are activating, but it's not turning. So I gotta try to figure out some sort of switch or solenoid or something in here, or relay activating. I need to try to narrow down what's going on. It may be in this controller box, which I could actually just swap controllers off of another one pretty easy and find out for sure if it's something in here. I don't know how serviceable this is, but I'm going to work on a winch now. This video has just been one thing after another. It's just a series of problems and issues and things that need to be straightened up and changed, and I want to get them all done so I don't have to pull this thing off again except to do the swing out and stuff. So it'd be really cool to have a functional winch that works both ways. Pulling in's the most important one, then I could free spool it and release it, but having both would be good. So I'm going to see if I can figure out and fix this winch. So let's work on a winch. Okay, so this is the controller box, and then it's got 3 big wires coming out. Black, I'm guessing here, black is probably ground. Red and yellow are both hot. One is going to be for forward and one is for reverse. I don't really know that for sure, but I'm guessing. So I'm going to check and try to verify that. I'm going to put a lead on here and a lead on here and see if that's kind of matching up. Okay, red is forward. Right, well. Maybe not. Well, let's do this. Let's go to the ground. I know this is ground back here, and we'll find out what all these are. Okay, so I'm learning things about winches. When I winch in, all three of these have voltage on them, which kind of confuses me. I did not expect that, but all three of them are showing voltage. When I go to the ground back here, which I know is ground, and then I go here, not exactly sure how that's working. I'm gonna open up this box though, and because I can hear clicking in here, but I'm not seeing voltage on reverse, so I'm thinking that solenoid or relay, whatever it is that operates that, is probably my problem. Okay, here's what the inside of one of these looks like. This looks like a little wireless controller box. Then we got all of our copper bars coming in here, attaching. So, and then this big module right here, it's got all our solenoids and relays in it. So maybe this module is replaceable, because that's probably where our problem is at. Might not be, might be in this. Let's see, where's this clicking coming from? This has the clicking in it. Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna hook a direct wire in. So there's a direct wire port on these, so instead of going through the wireless, and some of those are connected straight through. So let's just see if wired works in reverse. Okay, we're on wired now. Nope, still nothing. Alright, I came up with a temporary solution. I just stole one of the controllers off of one of the other winches on the tow truck, and I'll order a new solenoid for that one. Slap it back on the tow truck, be good to go, and I'll have a functional winch on this. So, I think I have all my parts and pieces here ready to go. Bumper, tow package, skid plate, winch, new battery, and it's time to put this thing back together. Roll the time lapse. Alright guys, making some good progress here, but it's time to get the winch mounted. I did get the mounting bracket kit, which is just these tiny little aluminum brackets. It's got 2 on for each side, 4-inch corner. So you get these on here, mark some holes, and bolt this down. So the battery, before I had it like strapped down to this thing, now I'll be able to bolt it down, and hopefully that'll hold up. Alright guys, I got the battery in and hooked up, and I've got the vehicle running. So I got the Renogy DC to DC. I'm updating my Renogy 1 core right here, but everything's looking good. The battery's charging. I got it updated to the lithium settings in here, and this is gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be so nice to have good power again. The old battery, when it was new, was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. It solved so many problems. When your battery gets to be shot, it's such a pain. But waiting on this to update, but the battery's working fantastic. It's at like 51%, so I'm gonna let it charge up a little bit more. I need to get an AC to DC power supply for this as well, plus solar eventually, but for right now, we'll keep running the DC to DC. I think it's gonna be good for the most part, but I need like a trickle charger just to charge it at home. So before I button all that up back there, I wanna make sure everything's looking good power-wise, but our lights are on. Well, you can see we got some new mattresses. These actually laid out flat. I had to trim them down and everything, but we got some new mattresses for in here. There's one over here, and then they can turn into these little couches for sitting when we got bad weather or something we need to sit in here. So our old ones are getting pretty raggedy. We've had them for years and years, even before we had the camper. So nice to get some new mattresses here, some thicker mattresses. Been planning on putting this style in since I was envisioning the camper, and we finally have new mattresses. All right, I got this all updated. I don't even know how to work it now. Where's my stuff? Where is my, there it is. Okay, Trove 1. See 83 watts going in. And we can scroll down here. Starter battery 13.1, auxiliary battery 13.3, 6.3 amps charging, 83 watts currently. So yeah, looking fantastic. And I can also check it from the app and get into the battery and look and see if like the heater's on, check all my settings. Pretty cool. It's a nice system. I like the Renogy products. They're just super easy and user friendly. So here's how the battery looks. I still got some wiring to clean up, but got it fastened down. It's sitting right here, and then I put the winch controller just over here to the side, which I should be able to access if I need to plug in physically or want to turn off the wireless or something on this. I got it sitting right there, and I should be able to reach in through the bumper right here once I get everything up here. So I am going to, I think, raise my skid plate up and then get the bumper mounted. I think we're ready. Hey guys, I'm not gonna say it's the best looking thing in the world, but I think it's pretty beefy. I think it's gonna do its job, and it's gonna look even better once we get the swing out built and we can carry all the other stuff in convenient locations that we need to carry, such as that spare tire. I guess my biggest dislike is just how open it is. You can kind of see down in here, so I definitely would like to get some plates to go right in here. And I don't know about the top here. Once the swing out's here, it's gonna be different. But at the same time, when this is opened up, when the swing out's open, you just kind of got this big hole down here, which is nice for getting to stuff when you need to work on something. But I don't know, maybe I need to get a plate of some sort to go over the top of all this. It wouldn't be too hard to do, just add some more weight, maybe I don't know. Kind of think I want to fill this all in with some sort of plate, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. If we should put a plate in there. I definitely want to put a plate in here so I can mount my hitch lights and all that kind of stuff. And we got to put a license plate somewhere. So it's got some more work to do. Obviously, we still got to build the swing out portion of it. But yeah, let me know what you think about it. And I think that's all I got. It's like midnight. I've been working on this thing for, I've probably got 16 hours in it now. But we got a new battery, we got a winch in the back, we got a custom built bumper, we got our skid plate fixed up. This is in excellent shape. Biggest problem was, that's not what I was supposed to work on this weekend. I was supposed to get the battery in, and I was supposed to get the tent on, but now the tent's gonna have to wait. So Anyway, that's all I got for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure.